Alright, class. So this is our first homework video. So what I'm gonna do to save you guys time and like being overwhelmed with there's too many videos, I'm going to make one homework video for all three homework assignments that's in section 1.4. So you guys should have this is your guys' part one, this is your guys' part two, and this is your guys' part three, and I'm just putting them all together. So if you're doing part one homework right now, just watch up until I go past number 18, and then you can just pause it and leave it alone. If you're watching part two, you might want to skip ahead to see when I start hitting problems number 23 through 31. And if you're watching part three, you want to skip ahead up until towards the end. So that's how I would recommend you guys watching it. It's just to save uploading time and save you guys time. Another thing, so we should already have the properties of exponents if you've been taking notes. But if you don't, I would recommend you either take a screenshot of this right now. You might want to take a picture on your phone or even on a piece of paper. Write these down, like pause the video right now and then write these down. And then, hit play so that you guys have these properties, because these are what we're going to be using to solve these problems. So I'm going to give you a second to, take a screenshot, and we should be good to go. All right, so we're going to do the first problem. So you guys should have 5 through 11 odd is the first set of problems. I'm going to do number 9 from this. I'm not going to do all of them just for the sake of time. All right, so here I see that we have to evaluate their expression. There's a lot going on. One of the neat things about the thing about properties of exponents is you can start almost anywhere. So some of you guys might see that -4, that negative exponent first. Some of you guys might see that fraction bar. Some of you guys might even see that zero exponent. Either way, you guys can start at any route. So I'm just gonna go with what I see first. I see that -4. So what that means is, since I have a negative exponent, if I remember, 2 to the -4 just becomes 1 over 2 to the 4th. So what that means is, if I have all of this over 0, it just means that this is going to be times 4 to the 0. So all you're going to do is you're just going to add it onto it. But remember, we're doing exponents, so we're all of this is multiplying. So this is our next step. Now we can simplify this. We can simplify this. We're going to do it at the same time. So I noticed that 4 to the 0 power, I'm going to check my properties real quick. The product of the 0 exponent, that means if I have a to the 0 power, my answer is just always 1. So I know, obviously, that 4 to the 0 power is going to be 1. So this is 2 to the 4th, which if I can use my calculator real quick. 2 to the 4th is going to get you 2 to the, let me pull off my calculator to the side real quick. Remember, you can do it 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 4 times, or if you know how to use your calculator, you could do 2 to the 4th power. That gets you 16. So this is 1 over 16 times 1, which gets you 16. So that's your final answer. Pretty much good to go. If you're good at this, if you're good at doing some mental math, you don't have to do all these steps. I'm okay if you went from here to here and then you got the answer. That's it. You don't have to do all these steps. I'm just trying to go very descriptive for you guys. All right. So let's go to the next one. The next one was 13 to 18 all. Here you're going to simplify the expressions and you're going to write your answer in positive exponents. What that means is you can't leave these negative exponents out. So I'm going to do 17 because I felt like that one's one of the harder ones. So I think you guys can handle 13 through 16, and 17, 18 might be where you needed some help. So again, depending on how what you see, you're just going to, sorry, I'm going to cover this to make it a little bit easier to see, to show work. There we go. All right, so I noticed that I have those negative exponents. I'm going to deal with those negative exponents first. So I have 2 to the negative second power, which that's going to get me 1 over 2 to the second, right? And m to the -3 is just 1 over m to the 3. So all that means is there's nothing going to be at top. Then you're going to have 2 to the second. m to the 3. Sorry, I should make this a little bit thinner. Let's go do that one. M to the 3. And then n to the 0. And well, I know n to the 0, that's 1. So this is going to be 1 over 2 to the second, m to the 3, and then times 1. But we don't really need to write times 1, right? We're mathematicians. We're lazy, so we don't need to write that. So I'm going to erase it. You don't have to write it. We're good from there. But remember, we have to simplify. So because we have to simplify, we got to make that nicer. So 2 to the second power is actually just 4. So this is going to be 1 over 4m cubed. And that's my answer. Ooh, I don't like how that came out, so I'm going to write that. So this is 1 over 4m cubed. All right, pretty straightforward, right? Not too bad. Again, that's all you kind of really need to do to go from there. Next part, we're going to simplify the expression again, but we're also going to write using positive exponents. Only difference is this is just raising it up a notch, making it a little more difficult, a little more intense because they're all the same base. So earlier we couldn't really combine the 4 and the m, right? We had to stop here. So like there's nothing more we can do because 4 and m aren't the same. Here, if you notice, like the 5, 5, they're both the same, so you have to work with them. The x's here for number 31, which one we're going to do, that one's also the same. So I like to work from left to right, and I notice this minus. And if I remember correctly, checking my properties, if I have a fraction, the power of a quotient, a minus just becomes, oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong one. Whoops, sorry, my bad. Quotient of power, sorry. So, or the power quotient. When I have a fraction bar, that means I'm actually doing subtraction, right? Division leads to subtraction. Multiplication leads to addition. And you can work backwards as well. If you wanted to do addition, you go back to multiplication. If you do subtraction, you go back to division. So, anyways, all that means is that we're going to have, I'm going to cover this because I think I'm going to write too big. So, all that means is we're going to have x, right? And this is just going to mean that these two are going to combine. They're going to subtract each other. So there's going to be x to the 5 minus 4 times x. Well, 5 minus 4 is just 1, right? But we don't really need to write that. But I'm going to keep it in there just to make it visual for you guys. And if you remember, if you have x by itself, that also is technically to the 1 power. So if I look again, when you're multiplying, like I said, multiplication leads to addition. So this here just becomes addition. So this is x to the 1 plus 1 power, which gets you x squared. Again, pretty straightforward. One thing I forgot to say, you guys, but I probably should have said this at the very beginning. You probably feel like, oh, Mr. Rivas, you're going too fast, or I need to like, I feel like I can't catch up. Pause the video. If you feel like I went too fast, pause the video, catch up to what I was saying, and then rewatch it. If you were like, he didn't really make sense with number 17, I think I need to see it again. I would pause the video once I finish with 17, rewind it, go back to the beginning, and then just watch it over. And keep doing that over and over and over again. And then make sure that while you're watching these videos, you should be writing it down, taking any notes. If you hear something that you feel like you should make a note of, do that. Take advantage of this, you guys. All right. Next one. So now we're in the 40s. This should be, I think they were into day 2. Yeah, we're in day 2 already, or part 2. So here we're going to simplify the expression. You're going to write your answer using only positive exponents. Again, this is now like a little more intense. Here we have parentheses. And remember, when we do parentheses, what you're going to do is you're going to distribute that 3 using multiplication. So what you're going to do is I'm going to rewrite it because I want it to look nicer. And so like I said, you're going to distribute that 3. Let's choose this one. And what you're going to do is you're going to do multiplication, right? I'm going to do a dot. So this is going to be negative 5 And since there's no number, like I said, you got to assume that there's a 1 there. So it's negative 5 to the 1 times 3 power. And then p to the 3, if I can write it, 3 times 3 power. That looks like a 1, and I'm trying to fix it. Right? I don't like how that 3 came out. I'm sorry, you guys. There you go. That's better. Sorry for the writing. Now, 1 times 3, that gets you, obviously, 3. And then 3 times 3, this is going to be p to the 9th. Okay, so far so good, right? Now we still got to simplify this. We don't want to keep this exponent out. So 5 to the 3rd power, I know 5 times 5 is 125, and 125 times 5 is negative 625, and then p to the 9th. So this is your guys' answer. Remember, when you're plugging this in the calculator, you're only going to plug in the 5. You're going to leave out that negative. Remember, the only time you include the negative is if I had it like this. Whoops. If I take off the highlighter, you guys can see. Negative 5 to the, to the 3rd. That's when you include the negative. But because the negative was on the outside, there was no parentheses. That means technically the negative is on the outside. So you only do 5 to the 3. So this is how it should be work. All right. Let's move on to the next one. I think that was day 2. Now we're moving on to basically day 3. Day 3 is a little more intense with the scientific notation, but honestly, it's doable. Remember, all you should remember is if am I looking at this? Oh, let me check my notes real quick. If the exponent is remember, if the exponent is positive, I'm going to write it off to the side here. Positive, you move to the right. If the exponent's negative, you move to the left. Right? Now here, my recommendation how to do these is instead of doing it this way, I'm going to have us stack them. So I'm going to do 3 times 10 to the second, and then 1.5 times 10 to the negative 5. Now, remember, multiplication leads to addition. So what you're doing essentially is you're going to add those. So I'm going to add these. So that this is technically 10 to the, 2 plus negative 5 is just, if I plug that in the calculator, that's going to get me negative 3. So this is 10 to the 3rd power. Now, the 3 and the 1.5, you're just going to multiply that, right? Since this is just regular numbers, you just multiply that. So as I type that in my calculator, 3 times 1.25 is just 4.5. So this is your guys' final answer for the scientific notation part. Now the standard form, that one's a little different, right? So this one, to do standard form, you have 3. So since 3 is a positive number, that means you're going to go 3 spaces right. All right. So you have 4.5. And that's 1. I don't like how that came out. 1, 2, 3. That's the end of the decimal. So then now all you're going to do is you're going to write zeros to replace all those spaces. So 1, 2, and that's it. So your answer for standard form is just 4,500. There's your answer there. So pretty straightforward. Oh, we're getting close to running out of time or making this video too long. All right, next one. So now we have division here. Same idea, just a little bit different. So since it's dividing, that means that your 10 power is going to be negative 5 minus negative 8. Now we should remember something. We have 2 negatives here. We think way back into middle school, when you have 2 negatives, that means technically you have a, what's going on here? There we go. You have a positive, right? So you're actually adding negative 5 plus 8. So if I'm doing negative 5 plus 8, that's going to get me 3. So this is 10 to the third power. Now the next part, 3.9 divided by 7.8, I'm going to have to pull out my calculator for that. If I were you, I would pull this out too, just in case I do this wrong. So I'm going to type in 3.9 divided by 7.8. So you should probably pause the video and do that too, in case I do it wrong. So I got 0.5. Hopefully you guys got that too. And that's pretty much it. Now we got scientific notation. So I'm going to circle this in purple because that's the scientific notation. And then standard form, if you remember, this is where you're going to do 0.5. Again, this is 3 spaces to the right. So you're going to do 1, 2, 3. Fill in the zeros. So this is now 500. And that is in standard form. I just noticed I picked the wrong blue. So let's do this one. That's pretty much it. I know there's one more problem, 55. I might start this for you guys, but you guys should be able to do it on your own. On average, about 9.46 times 10 to the negative 1 pound of potatoes was produced for every 2.3 times 10 to the negative 5 power acre harvested. How many pounds of potatoes on average were produced for each acre harvested? Write your answer in scientific notation and in standard form. So we want to know how many pounds on average were produced for each acre. So when you do that, that actually means that you guys should be dividing. And a good way, if you're like, huh, are we? If you check example 6, you guys should see that we are dividing because it's per pounds per acre. So this setup, I'm not going to do it for you guys because I think you guys can use the previous example I just did, but it should look like this. 2.3, I don't like how this 3 came out, there we go, times 10 to the negative 5. So you guys should be able to use the previous problem, 54, to get you guys started. So write it in scientific notation and standard form. Good luck. Talk to you guys tomorrow. See you soon.